There's a point where you realize you've been trying too hard, trying to get someone to notice you, trying to make someone stay, trying to prove that you're good enough, trying to make your life look like it's finally going somewhere. And the strange part is that the harder you try, the more restless you become. You check your phone again. You think about what they meant by that message. You wonder why they haven't replied. You compare yourself with people who seem to be ahead of you. You keep pushing, but inside you feel like you're running after something that keeps moving away. That feeling has a name. You're chasing. And when you spend too much of your life chasing something, you slowly give it control over your peace. This is why the moment you stop chasing, something changes. Not because the world suddenly gives you what you wanted, but because you stop giving your attention to something that was controlling you. Think about what chasing actually means. It means your mind is constantly looking outside of you for a result. You need the message. You need the attention. You need the relationship. You need the approval. You need the success. And until you get it, you don't feel settled. That creates a very simple problem. Your peace now depends on something you don't control, and anything you don't control can disturb you. Psychology has a simple idea that helps explain this. It's called reinforcement. Reinforcement means that when something gives you a reward, your brain becomes more likely to repeat the behavior that came before it. In simple terms, if checking your phone sometimes gives you a message you really wanted, your brain learns to keep checking, even when there is no message. That's why chasing can become a habit. You don't chase because you're weak. You chase because sometimes it works. Sometimes they reply. Sometimes they give you attention. Sometimes you get the approval. Sometimes the number goes up. And that small reward teaches your brain to try again. So you check again. You send another message. You try a little harder. You think about it a little more. And slowly, something that started as desire becomes dependence. Now you're not just wanting something, you're waiting for it to tell you how you should feel. That's where things become painful. Imagine someone you really like. At first, you talk normally. You enjoy the conversation. Then you become more interested. You start checking whether they're online. You notice how quickly they reply. You notice when their messages become shorter. You start changing your behavior because you're trying to keep their interest. You are no longer simply talking to them. You're managing their reaction to you. And that's exhausting because every small thing becomes information. A late reply means something. A short message means something. A missed call means something. You start living inside a story that your own mind keeps creating. And the more you chase certainty, the more uncertain you feel. This happens outside relationships too. You chase money. You chase success. You chase followers. You chase respect. You chase the version of yourself that you think will finally make you feel valuable. There's nothing wrong with wanting these things. The problem begins when you believe you cannot be at peace until you have them. That's the trap. You can want something without worshiping it. You can work for something without allowing it to control your self-worth. And this is where stopping the chase changes everything. Stopping the chase does not mean becoming lazy. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means you stop trying to force an outcome. You do what is yours to do, then you let the result be what it is. That's a very different way of living. Think about studying for an exam. You can study properly. You can revise. You can practice questions. You can sleep properly before the exam. Those things are in your control. But after you walk into the exam hall, you cannot control every question. You cannot control what other students write. You cannot control exactly what marks you will receive. If you spend the entire exam worrying about the result, you're using the energy you need for the actual exam. So you bring your attention back to the only thing you can control, the next question. That's what stopping the chase looks like in real life. You stop asking, how do I make this happen? And you start asking, what is actually mine to do right now? That one change is powerful because chasing is usually focused on the future. You're imagining the reply, the relationship, the promotion, the money, the approval. And because you're living mentally in a future you cannot control, you miss the only moment where you actually have power, right now. There's another important reason this works. When you stop chasing, people can feel the difference. Not because you're playing some psychological game, not because you're trying to make them chase you instead, but because desperation changes how you behave. When you desperately need someone's approval, you become careful with every word. You agree when you don't actually agree. You tolerate things you normally wouldn't. You try to impress. You hide parts of yourself. But when you no longer need their approval to feel okay, you become more honest. You can say no. You can leave a conversation. You can let someone misunderstand you without immediately trying to fix their opinion of you. You become easier to respect because you're no longer negotiating your dignity for acceptance. And that applies to your own life too. When you stop chasing the perfect version of yourself, you can finally start building yourself. There's a difference. Chasing says, I need to become impressive. Building says, I need to become better. Chasing cares about how quickly the result appears. Building cares about whether the work is actually being done. That's why the simplest framework I want you to remember is this. Stop chasing the result. Return to the action. That's it. If you want someone to respect you, stop trying to force their respect. Become someone who behaves with self-respect. If you want success, stop obsessing over whether you're successful yet. Do today's work properly. If you want someone's attention, stop trying to constantly earn it. Give them the freedom to choose. And if they don't choose you, let that answer be an answer. This doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become stable. You still care. You just don't abandon yourself while trying to get what you care about. You can start practicing this today. The next time you catch yourself checking your phone because you're waiting for a particular person, stop for a moment. Don't check. Not as a game, not to make them wonder where you are, just because you don't need to obey every urge your mind gives you. Then ask yourself one thing. What am I actually able to do about this right now? If the answer is nothing, return to your life. Go back to your work. Read your book. Finish what you are doing. Talk to your family. Take a walk. Do something real in the world you're actually living in. And if there is something you can do it once and clearly. Then let the result breathe. You don't need to keep touching something to make sure it hasn't disappeared. Some things need space. Some people need space. And sometimes, so do you. The person who stops chasing isn't someone who has stopped wanting. He's someone who has stopped begging the world to prove his worth. He can want deeply and still remain calm. He can love someone and still keep his dignity. He can work hard and still accept that results take time. He can lose something without believing that he has lost himself. That is a different kind of strength. Quiet strength. Not the kind that needs to be seen. The kind that remains when nobody is watching. So maybe the next step isn't to chase harder. Maybe it's to stop for a moment and ask yourself what you've been trying so hard to force, and whether you're willing to let it come to you naturally or let it go if it doesn't. You are not behind because something hasn't happened yet. You are not less valuable because someone didn't choose you. You have to understand that things don't work out the way you think.